Well, Rob, we spoke last week at the Cenhedloedd when you announced your squad, and you couldn't stress enough just how excited you were to get this group back together. How have the past few days been like here in Portugal?
Yeah, very good. It's been great getting them back together. We haven't stopped smiling as a staff since we've been back. The players the same. So we've had a few pull-outs, but it's given us then an opportunity, Sean, to get 3 or 4 of the young lads up. And they've been excellent so far. The training's been superb. So yeah, great to get them back together.
Yeah, we say get the group back together, but of course there are a number of new faces in this squad, Rob. 6 uncapped players in total. What's it been like working with them so far this week?
Brilliant. Yeah, they've brought fresh energy. You know, I'm talking about the 4, in particular the 4 young lads that have stepped up. They have brought a fresh energy, and it's been great having them in the camp. You know, they've not let themselves down by no means in training. They've been excellent. We've done a shooting practice today, and some of them absolutely stood out. So it's exciting to see, you know, what they can offer. We have to manage the development, of course, and we can't put too much expectations on them. But what I've seen so far has been really impressive.
Yeah, you've mentioned energy. What's the energy been like in the camp overall? Because you've got a real mixed bag of players that have had some difficult seasons. Some have got the highs of being promoted, the lows of just missing out. Has it been difficult to balance players and their emotions this week?
No, honestly it hasn't. I've had conversations with some of the players. Ethan Ampadu in particular, he's probably played, I've said this stat before, he's played the most minutes in any European footballer. And he took a couple of knocks in the final. He's had an ongoing issue anyway before the end of the season. And I spoke to him while he was away with his family on holiday, and I said, look, what's important is September. We need to get yourself right and mentally get away from football for a bit. But fair play to him. He said, look, I'm having a scan next Monday, and if it's clear, he said, I'm coming out there. And he turned up yesterday afternoon and has joined in training today, and it's been great having him around the group. So he's not been affected at all by it. He'll, of course, be disappointed that it wasn't the outcome they wanted. Josh Ian, we've named as captain, he'll no doubt feel the same way, but work is work. You wouldn't think it for 1 minute watching them train and watching them be around the group. And that's why it's nice to get together. You know, the show must go on, the life goes on, and you have to put the disappointment at club level to one side. And when you're in this environment, it can bring you out of that sometimes as well.
You announced literally just a few minutes ago before we sat down that Josh Ian will be captaining Wales tomorrow, Rob. Why Josh? Why Josh as captain?
I think he's a top pro. I think he's looked at as one of the senior players. The lads absolutely love him in the group. I think it's been hard for him in many respects because before last year he's had Joe Allen to compete with. Then he's had Ethan Ampadu to compete with. Now we've found JJ. So he's not been a minutes problem. You know, he's had a few grumbles because he wanted to play more minutes, and I respect him for that. I'd be the same. If I was turning up camp after camp after camp and not playing and not guaranteed a game, I think I'd be a little bit, you know, upset by it as well. But he never shows it in his training. He never shows it in his body language or his energy around the group. And I think he thoroughly deserves this opportunity to captain his country.
He's only got 5 international caps under his belt so far, Rob. But it's fair to say he's been on quite the journey, hasn't he? And most people probably wouldn't appreciate the journey that Josh has been on to get to this point. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I've followed his career over the years, and look, he's an exceptional player. He can play one of many positions in the middle of the park, but I like him as a sitting midfielder to get on the ball, and we're certainly going to want that tomorrow. We might have a bit of possession, so it's nice for somebody like a Josh to get on the ball. And with his intelligence to create those chances for us. So he deserves this opportunity. Like I said, I love him being in the group, and I'm looking forward to watching his performance tomorrow night. 2 friendlies this week, Rob, which is quite a rare thing nowadays, considering how busy, how competitive international football is in general. Can you tell me 3 things that you'd like to get out of this week? Positive performance. Build on what we've already achieved. I said to you, we're all disappointed, Sean, that we haven't qualified for a major tournament for the Euros. But looking at the group, the energy, it's top class again. So it's to continue to build. Partly is to continue to build on the environment that's already immense. So that by getting us together again, bringing us to a place like this, you know, and I got to thank the FAW for backing us to do this again and prepare for the 2 friendlies. And then thirdly, then it's about exposing the young players to this level, to this environment, to international football at the top level, and you know there'll be so many benefits from having worked with them this week, to seeing how the senior pros conduct themselves, and to seeing what's needed to be a top player for Wales. So lots of benefits to have from them. Like you said, it is unusual to have 2 friendlies, but we've got to take the 2 friendlies, and we're already now planning for September. We can't wait for September, and that's why this camp was important, to keep the momentum going, because irrespective of, we're lost on penalties, we're in good form. Take that away from September onwards, we're unbeaten in 7-8 games. And that speaks volumes about them. So we're on the right track, and we want to build on that, ready for September.
The fact that the Euros, they're only a couple of weeks away, Rob, all the fans, the FOMO is probably starting to settle in a little bit. Have you had many conversations with the players about the Poland game or anything, or have you just drawn a line under everything?
Yeah, the welcome meeting was part sort of welcome back, and then we had a little bit of the meeting was about the debrief on the both games, and I spoke about the journey that we're on and how good the performances were against Finland, especially. I thought the goals we scored, and we could have scored another more, one because of VAR, but on another day we could have scored a couple of more, so we could have scored 5 or 6 potentially, and then to follow it up with the performance against Poland in the manner in which we did and limit them to no shots was incredible. And like I said, to lose out on penalty is a cruel way to go, but we've got to strip the emotions out of it, Sean, and I've got to look at the levels of performances, what we've got coming through to add to this group. And again, that's why this is important, to get those young players in, to get them ready now to go again in September. And it's all positive, ready for the next games in September.
I do want to mention the T word, transition, Rob, and you have been criticised recently for describing this team as a team in transition. Like we've said, a number of uncapped players in this squad. What would your message be to that criticism?
Well, I think, I use Wes Burns, Nathan Broadhead, Brennan Johnson as an example as to why I use the phrase transition. And there's no better example than those 3 players. So you can't just get experience overnight, Sean. You've got to wait, you've got to be patient for that. We spoke in the Nations League against Belgium, against Holland. We needed to play people like Brennan, who might not have won every game against Belgium and Holland. They're top international teams. But by exposing people like Brennan to those games, we'll benefit now. And we have done. We have benefited. Brennan's gone to another level, certainly playing week in, week out for Tottenham. We now see him as a big player for us. Okay? That hasn't happened overnight. That's taken a bit of time. That was that transition. So we've now got Wes Burns 2 years ago playing for Fleetwood. Nathan Broadhead, Everton's under-23s. They've now had such a good season, they're now playing in the Premiership. We will benefit from that, but we've had to wait 12 months, 18 months for that period. So they are now stepping up with the Harry Wilsons of the world. Pre-Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale was the number 1, understandably. Harry was a bit part player. Harry was play for an hour maybe, or come on for Gareth in the last half an hour, or a bit part player. He is now one of the top players. And again, playing in a Premiership week about, we'll benefit from that. So that's what I mean by transition. Now, we've got to learn from what we've done for the last campaign in the Euros and put it into practice in September. And if we do that and learn from what we've done and build on the performance, some of the performances that we had, like Croatia at home, like even Turkey at home, we should have won that game. We drew the game, but we should have had 3 stonewall penalties, in my opinion. So the levels of performances, if the performances weren't there, then I'd be worried, and we weren't qualified, then I'd be worried, Sean. Absolutely. But I'm not, because I see the transition we're on, I see the journey we're on, and it excites me for September onwards.
You've got 2 very different games coming up this week, Rob, but of course we'll start with Gibraltar tomorrow night. What can we expect to see from your team tomorrow night?
Yeah, we'll have to be patient. I went to the game against Scotland the other night, and Scotland had to wait late on to get the 2 goals. They go in a low block, similar to what they did against us in Wrexham. So it's going to be a game it's going to be beneficial to give some of the young ones some experience, some of the fringe players a game, and some of the forward play that we've worked on recently. That's got us the goals against Finland and the opportunities against Poland and games before that, is to continue to build on that. And we're going to have to be patient in our play. And when we get the opportunities, we're going to have to be ruthless. And that's something that we're talking about as a group, is that being ruthless in those opportunities against top teams. Not Gibraltar, but against top teams, when you get those opportunities, you've got to be ruthless to finish. You might only get 1 or 2 a game. Against Gibraltar, we're hoping to create more chances, of course. So it's a disciplined performance without the ball and with the ball, and wait to create the chances, and then having that ruthless mentality to finish.
Rob, diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr, Sianed.